Hey guys, this is Spencer. I wanted to come to you today and go over a little bit about the mind of an active shooter per se. I'm not going to get into a huge, deep detail of how they think and how they act. Uh, More of, I guess, a preventative or things we need to look for maybe when we're young and parents' responsibilities, uh, things like that. All right, so there are things that have said or have had said about them. So basically, things they have said, the shooter has said, or the people have said about the shooters. There's been quite a few active shooters over the years. It really ramped up. Um, Unfortunately, it ramped up by just the time gun control got uh, taking a foothold, and then it ramped up when we started having all these gun-free zones. Nobody has guns in these areas, so these people, that's their targets. And, no matter what anybody wants to say, you get rid of the gun-free zones, you make harder targets. You'll have less. You may not have less people trying, but you'll have less people actually succeeding. But uh, things that have been said. One of the things on the shooter side that's been said is people will remember me then. This kind of alludes to they might not have been a very popular person. People might not have liked them. They may have kept to themselves. For whatever the reason, they may have just been weird to most people. And there could have been underlying reasons for that. There could have been abuse. If we go back and do some studies of the active shooters, if you really look back into their lives, um, and that's one of the things I don't like doing is naming off the shooters because that's what they want in the end. They want to be remembered. They want to be praised or they just want to be remembered for whatever reason. Uh, Nobody's paying attention to them. Nobody's having anything to do with them, so they want to be remembered. Or I'll show them they're angry at some people. I'll show them, I'll shoot them. Maybe they were picked on, maybe they were bullied, maybe they had a bad family life. It could have been a bunch of different stuff with that one as well. So, um, one of them is there's been a couple that this has happened. If she won't have me, then she'll have nobody. Meaning basically, and this is what basically happened with the shooter at the place that I worked. Um, it was a girl thing. She didn't want nothing to do with him for whatever reason. I hate it, but for anybody watching this that knows somebody or you're one of these people, there's plenty of fish in the sea. No matter, we're all weird in our own right. I'm weird in my own right, but there's somebody out there that is either just as weird as you are, uh, of the sex of what you're looking for. If you're a guy looking for a girl or a girl looking for a guy or whatever you're looking for, there's somebody out there that matches you. This is a big world. I live in a smaller town of about 200,000 people. I did not find my wife in this town. In fact, I found my wife. She was living 5 hours away from me, and we ended up meeting at a retreat thing, and that's how we met. And I was older when I got married. I was 34 years old before I got married. I dated throughout my life, but we never clicked enough to get married. If that is you or you know somebody like that, there's more fish out there. Go looking somewhere else. That person, I get it. You're angry, you're hurt, and all that. Move on. Just move on. Um, and then a couple things been said. Well, they had their reasons, and I've actually seen a lot of people really like, oh, they can't say that. There was no reason to, you know, shoot all those people. Well, you're right. There was no reason, no reason that isn't crazy, but they did have their reasons. No matter how mentally unstable of a reason that it was a reason that made sense to them at the time they did it, or at the time they were planning it. And the more they planned it, the more they thought about it, the more sense it made. So they had got to a point of mental instability. And one of the things is that was their reason. So at that point in time, their reason made sense to them. And that's for anything, whether it's going in the store and stealing some stuff or robbing the place. They had their reasons. Were their reasons right? No. The same thing here. Their reasons weren't right, but they did come up with their own crazy reasons. Um, all right. Another one is they were always picked on. People are like, well, they were always picked on, so no wonder they flipped. And I'm going to go over that here in a little bit about what we can do about that, because a lot of them probably were picked on. A lot of them were probably a little weird, and kids can be mean. Um, Unfortunately, we got to grow thick skin, and there's some things that it is not only you as somebody that goes to school with them, or the parents or the teacher's responsibility to kind of reach out, reach these people, and if you think they're being abused or neglected and stuff, to get help and stuff like that. And this is another one that it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't know how someone could do such a thing. All right, so it is a bad thing and it should not ever happen. But as far as thinking that is something, anything that you get in your mind, if the trigger flips, if a switch flips in your head, you could do such a thing. If you have thought of it, not meaning you've thought of doing it, but you have thought of it. It's one of those things that we go as far as like self-defense training and stuff, or trying to get into the mind of criminals. One of the things was, if you can think it, you could do it in the right circumstance. So their circumstances were right at that point in time to them, and that's how they did it. A lot of people like to think, well, I would never, torture somebody, or I would never do anything like that. Well, I'm going to tell you now, if somebody kidnapped your kid and you knew who had information of them being kidnapped, I guarantee you would have enough in you to torture them. I know I would. You take my kid, no holds barred. As far as not knowing how somebody could do such a thing, anybody's capable of it. It's like, strong people are people that have the ability to do such things, but keep their life in control and in check. There's a lot of people out there like that. There's a lot of people that if it come down to it, they could do stuff that needed to be done. If you're attacked and you had to defend yourself, you would do everything you could to defend yourself. But we don't just walk around attacking people. We keep ourselves in check. Somebody made you mad, so mad you could, spit, but you didn't do anything because you kept yourself in check. These people have just mentally allowed it to take over their being, for whatever reasons, and they snap. So as far as that, I do see how they could do such a thing. I can see how they can get so mad, and they can let it fester, and they can just think about it and think about it. It's like anything else. Like a lot of you have. I don't know that I've ever experienced anxiety. I've never been to that. I know my wife has, and I know several other people that have, and I know some people have like chronic anxiety. Um, but you let that get to you and you become anxious about it, and you're just, I guess it's just like a really hard, bad nervous feeling. It's the same thing. They let it get to them. So there's ways that you need to combat all that stuff. And other things are like they were always quiet, they were kept to themselves. And that seems to be one of the big ones. They were always quiet, they kept to themselves. They were ignored. They were probably the ones at home, may not have had a good family life. They may have stayed in their room. They may have played video games all the time and not done anything else. And and I'm not getting into the whole video game debate of, well, video games are making our kids bad and all this. I have played, I think the video games might be a little more violent than what I played, but I played the shoot 'em up games back when I was young, the ones that were there. It's been a while, back in the late 80s, early 90s, so the video games weren't as graphic as they are now, which I do think it kind of, the graphicness now kind of gets us used to that kind of stuff, so it kind of numbs us down to that kind of stuff. So that may have a part. I'm not getting to the psyche of that because that's not my expertise at all. I do know I've played my share of video games, and I, whether we want to say it bothered me or not, I don't know. But I've never went and shot somebody up. So I'm not getting into that as far as the being violent and stuff like that off the video games. I think there needs to be a balance. I do know the music has gotten a little rougher, I think, but I listened to the hardcore rap back when I was young as well. Um, Especially when I got to like my 20s, some of the real hardcore rap, the hard rock, I listened to all of that. And I didn't want to shoot anybody up. I might wanted to fight somebody, but I didn't want to shoot them up. So, all right. So, what can be done about this? Um, First thing we need to do is learn to spot signs of abuse or neglect, because a lot of the shooters we're finding out were actually abused or neglected as a child. So we're going to go over some signs of abuse here. So we've got the sexual, physical, and then just neglect, and then emotional. So our sexual abuse would be depression, promiscuity. You see these, especially girls dressing the way some of these girls are dressing. That could be because they're being sexually abused. Sexual diseases in younger children, absolutely. If you find out a younger kid has a sexual disease, you need to tell somebody and get them checked out. Physical ailments, outburst of anger. Now, a lot of kids are going to have outbursts of anger, but you need to keep that in check. And self-abuse. They're being abused, they're abusing themselves. It's just part of life to them at that point. Same thing with physical. You got bruises, cuts, burns, facial injuries. They're getting all that from their parents more than likely, or their guardians. They may not actually be parents, they may just be guardians. So they're getting that from them, and they don't think anything of it. They think this is normal life, so they start abusing themselves. Or they're angry, or they have fear of adults. Now, with the fear of adults, there are some kids that are just going to be shy and withheld, not necessarily scared. Because my little boy, he's pretty outgoing, but if he doesn't know you, he'll kind of hide behind me. So you may want to not just take that as a fear of an adult. You need to get two factors with that fear of adult. Is he scared of adults and angry? Do you see any kind of cuts and bruises on him outside of normal 3-year-old boy bruises? Because he's out here playing on the playground and getting bruises all the time. But that's things we need to think about. Such things, if a kid comes in with like a black eye, okay, watch the kid. I wouldn't necessarily report it at that point, but if it happens again very shortly thereafter, then you need to check into it. If he's got a bruise on his leg or something, he could just be in a kid, but if he starts getting a whole bunch of bruises and they're pretty bad ones, especially in spots that people might be hitting them, that's things you need to look at it as far as physical abuse. Neglect, depression, poor hygiene. They're not making them take baths, or they're not giving them the stuff to take a bath or a shower. They're hungry and they're not giving them food. They are actually hoarding food when they get near it. They start just stuffing their pockets with it because they're always hungry. They start stealing stuff, especially food and stuff, or clothes or soap, because they're dirty, they're unkempt. Also neglect. for you parents out there, just allowing your kid to go lock themselves in a room and play videos all the time and not ever paying attention to them because you're just trying to get in their hair, just get them out of your hair. You're not helping them with their homework, or you're not getting a sit down time to talk to them, or you're not getting them out and getting active with them. That's neglect as well. I'm sorry, but that's neglect. If they're not getting any of those activities, or they're not getting parent time or guardian time or whatever they've got, that is neglect. So as far as you parents are concerned, that's things to consider as well. Emotional, the depression goes over about 3 of these, but they could be depressed. They could be having suicidal thoughts. They could be talking of suicide. Stuff like that. That's things you need to keep check on. They could be passive aggressive. They could have eating disorders. One of the big ones where when we were going to school was the girls would go eat and then they would go make themselves throw up to stay skinny. And that's not good. Yeah, I get wanting to be healthy and wanting to be in shape because, I'm not a big guy. I stay fairly active. I eat right, or I try. Um, but that's emotional. That there's something wrong if you're to the point where you're throwing up to stay that skinny. So there's things going on there as well. The suicidal thoughts. I can remember one time it was in 6th grade, I believe. No, yeah, I was a 6th grader. This girl was a 7th grader. Um, and she said we were in the locker room, so our lockers were like right side by side, like where I was at. Um, my locker was 2 or 3 lockers down, and I had went to my locker, and we were changing classes by then. Um, but I went to my locker and I was getting stuff out, and she was kind of crying, kind of angry, upset. She's like, "I'll just kill myself," and stuff like that. And I just stopped and I looked over at her. I was like, "Are you okay?" Yeah, yeah. I was a 6th grader. What do you say? But she said that. That's the first time I'd ever heard that. Um, and not going any of my past life or anything like that, but that just stunned me. That floored me, and I was just like, "Wait, what? Are you okay?" And she just looked at me, and I was like, "Seriously?" I was like, "What's going on?" And I don't really remember the whole conversation at that point in time, but I remember her saying stuff about whatever, and I was like, "Look, it's just school. I think it was about school and a boyfriend or something." And I was like, "It's just school. Who cares?" You know, I, and she was like, "Oh, I'm behind or whatever." Uh, Again, I don't remember the whole conversation, but I do remember telling her something to the point is, there's more guys out there and it's just school. If you make an F, who cares? You can make it up. Study harder next time. Get rid of the boyfriend. Just be single for a while and study harder. Something to that point. And yeah, it was a long conversation. In fact, I'm pretty sure I went back to class so late I got wrote up or sent to the principal. I remember getting in trouble for it, or was going to get in trouble for it. Um, and I remember talking to her. I don't remember her name. I remember her face. I'm bad with names anyway. You could tell me your name and I'd forget it in 10 minutes anyway. 10 seconds, I'd forget it. I'm not good with names. I'm really good with faces though, and I remember her face, and I remember her looking at me, and I was just like, she was a pretty girl, and I was just like, "You got so much going for you," uh, and I believe I said something to that point. You're pretty. You seem smart, something, just, yeah. And it was a couple of days before I saw her again, and she said something like that, and she gave me a hug. She said, "Thank you." So some of you may want to look out for stuff like that and talk to people like that. And I saw her, and, we talked a few times. I don't think I saw her after that year because think they ended up moving or something. I don't think I ever saw her again, after that. She would have been going to the 8th grade, and then the 9th grade was my high school. But I think they ended up moving to a different area or something because I never saw her after that year, and that was kind of close to the end of the year anyway. Um, I think maybe 2 months left or something like that. But yeah, I mean, the few times I saw it, she would smile and she'd wave and say hey, and we would talk for a second and then go on. But for some of you noticing some of these signs, especially some of you kids in school, and you see stuff like this or you hear stuff like that, uh, don't be afraid to talk to them. Just step in and say, "Hey, what's going on?" Stuff like that. All right, so this is the now what session. This is to reach out to the people just like that. Or if you see some people sitting by themselves at lunch, and they look kind of, even if they look unkempt or they're not part of the crowd, go sit next to them. Sit and eat with them. Sit and talk to them. Offer to study with them. You don't have to become best friends with them, but at least let them know somebody notices them. Sometimes that's all it takes. They need to be noticed. If they don't have any food, offer them some food. Maybe they're hungry. Maybe they're not getting food at home, and their parents either can't afford it or they're not giving them money and not signing up for all the stuff, and they don't know what to do to get the free food and all this stuff. Try to be a friend. Just try to be. You don't have to be best friends, but just be somebody at school they can talk to. That may be all they need. Um, we all need somebody to talk to. I was a quiet kid in school. I had my little clique, I guess, but I, I was a quiet kid in school. I had friends and stuff, but if I didn't, who knows? Um, Tell your parents about it. Tell a teacher about it. Tell them what's going on. And if that teacher shrugs off, oh yeah, well that's so and so, go to another teacher. Go to somebody until somebody tries to get them help, and that's you trying to get them help, and then hopefully they will actually get help. Because this is where a lot of this stuff starts at. It starts at where the abuse from the house, and then it comes out. Nobody wants nothing to do with them, and sometimes all it takes is people reaching out to them. We try to tell my little boy when, stuff's going on or whatever, say thank you, go over and talk to him. And he's got to the point where if he sees something, he usually runs over and says, "Hey, are you okay?" He sees people on the playground, they might fall and he think they have gotten hurt or something. He'll run over and say, "Hey, are you okay?" And that's what people need. Um, so just try to reach out to them, especially you kids in school with them or you teachers out there. Because there's a lot of you teachers, you've got numb to stuff. I get it. I worked security most of my life. I worked EMS, and I got numb to a lot of that stuff. But it comes to a point you need to really reach out to these people. Um, all right, so parents out there, most of you parents that have decent kids, you're already doing this stuff. But there's some of you parents that with these kids haven't done this. So these are things to do. Make time with your kids a priority. Don't work all the time. Stop. Just stop. Just stop. You don't need to work all the time. I get it. If you're poor and one parent's the only one that can work, and you have to work two jobs to make those end meet. Um, I can offer you some suggestions of one, find a lower cost of living area. Especially if you're in like the inner cities, rent for you is expensive, and you're living in a house that isn't that great. I live in a low cost area, and my rent for where I'm living probably isn't as expensive as some of you inner city guys. And I don't rent. I own my home, but renting where I'm at or buying a home where I'm at is cheaper than renting in an inner city area. You know, rent over there might be for a small little one bedroom house is probably $800 to $1,200 a month, to where you can get a 3 bedroom house, 1.5 bath on a half acre of land or better for that $800 a month. So find you a better cost of living area. Get out and you'll be able to afford some more stuff. Um, we have our more expensive areas, but our uh, mid middle class area of what I live in, I don't live in an upper class area. I live in a middle class area. It's not that bad. It's decent neighborhoods. It's an older neighborhood, but that's things you might want to look for. That way you don't have to work all the time and you can spend more time with your kids. Um, if you notice your kids are having a problem, either help them or get them help. Um, one of the things is if you see they're having anger problems or you're seeing all this other stuff, um, one of the biggest things that my parents did was get me active because I was having kind of anger issues. So my parents got me into martial arts because I was being bullied. And then my parents, probably the best thing they ever did was put a baseball glove and ball in my hand and put me on a team. And I lived and breathed baseball for years. Loved it. They got me this little net thing that you threw the ball against, and it'd pop out at different angles at you, and you'd have to chase the ball and stuff like that. Guys, I would literally spend hours throwing that ball back and forth just to that with myself. That got me active. That got all this testosterone stuff that builds up, all the mental cleared my head, stabilized my mental capacity. Uh, you just don't know. And it still does today. I don't play baseball, but I do get out here and I exercise, and it clears my mind. And not just kids need this, adults need this as well. Um, Junk food. Get your kids off the junk food. Get them off the video games all the time. Get them away from all that stuff. Get them out. Get them into sports, martial arts. Fix them healthier foods. Don't let them just eat junk all the time. McDonald's 6 days a week ain't cutting it. Go to the grocery store, buy some food, cook some food. Health food, buying health food from restaurants is expensive. Going to the grocery stores and getting salad and making the fixings for a salad is not that expensive. Uh, Go that route. Get them some healthy stuff. This is things you need to do. And also, I suggest you spend at least an hour a day doing something active with your kids. Get out with them. Me and my little boy, we stay pretty active in the evenings. It's too hot right now. It's 100 degrees during the day. It's actually not that bad right now. I'm out here in the little shed, um, our little lounge area. He calls it the barn, but um, spend some time with him. Me and him. He's into Ninja Turtles and stuff like that, and he has a trampoline. So me and him literally get on the trampoline and we jump for probably an hour or so every night on that trampoline. Um, and he's in the Ninja Turtles, so he's in the fighting, and so we're sweeping each other, and he's punching and I'm blocking and pushing him down on the trampoline. So that's where I can push him down and not worry about him getting hurt. And then we can jump and we run around the trampoline chasing each other. And for me, it's easier on my knees. I'm not the youngest guy in the world, but for those years, like, oh, I'm too old to do all that stuff, guys. I'm 45. I'm 45 years old and I have a 3-year-old, and I still get out here and I make time to run around with my kid. Make time. Quit being that parent that doesn't make time because that's sorry. Get out here, get your energy, get your motivation to keep your kid as straight as you can keep your kid in this life, and make time and spend it with them. Run around and play with them. You're never too old. I'm 45 years old. I have a 3-year-old, and I'm running around with them every single day. Get out there and do it. You're not too old to do it. You may be out of shape, but it will get you in shape. Get out here, eat right, and start exercising with your kids. And this goes into making your kid a priority, not a secondary. You need to get in that kid's life. I'm sorry, but if you're not in your kid's life and you're not making your kid's life a priority, you out here working all the time, I'm going to make it better by working. You're not. You're literally not. Get in your kid's life. Your kid doesn't care about all the toys that you're going to buy him right now or all this other stuff you're going to buy them. I'm not saying there's anything with working long hours and stuff, but get in your kid's life. If you're building a business or something, pull out that couple hours every night, sit down and talk to your kid, exercise, play with your kid, and then after everybody goes to bed, go back to work. Then go in and get your 4 to 6 hours of sleep, and then get up early in the morning, fix breakfast, eat breakfast with your kid, get going, and then go back to work. Come back that afternoon or that evening, spend time with your kid. Make time for your kids. With them, start talking to them when they're young. then they will talk to you when they're older. If you're not talking to them when they're young, asking them questions, reading to them, they're not going to talk to you when they're older. You know, I, I didn't. I didn't hardly talk to my parents at all. Um, you know, I'm not going into my whole life story, but you know, get in your kids' lives and talk to them. Be a parent, not just a friend. Correct them when needed. There's going to be a correction time. You know, there's a meme that goes around. It's got the little calm looking dinosaur. You know, I started off this day with my kids, and then you got that T-Rex looking dinosaur because it's just like, ah. Sometimes you got to get like that. So you got to have the boundaries. You've got to have the rules. Give them chores. Give them stuff to do. You know, my little boy, he's 3. He picks up the trash. He empties trash every morning. He's 3 years old. That's his job. That's about all he can reach right now. But when he starts getting a little bigger, he's going to start doing some more stuff, and then also have fun. And that's what it's about. Is you've got to have a balance in your life. Um, Getting with your kids, playing with your kids, exercising with your kids. Even when they're older, when they get into high school and stuff, exercise with your kids, do stuff with your kids. You know, when he gets a little older and he doesn't want a trampoline, I love to jump rope. So maybe we can pick up the jump rope, or I don't mind bicycling or running around. You know, just do something. Get out there and have fun with them. This is ways that you can keep your kids going up, keep their mental state clear. Um, so hopefully they don't fall into this depression, and get them out and about. These are just some suggestions that I have to hopefully steer your kids in the right way, or if you see some people that some kids out there that may be having a hard time, to maybe intervene with them. Another thing is, you know, especially if you got one that lives close to you, maybe they can come in the backyard and play with you. Get out there and throw the ball, or get out there and jump on the trampoline, or run around, or whatever you can do, guys. I'm just trying to get some stuff out here that hopefully we can slow a lot of this craziness going on in our world, because I don't like seeing the schools getting shot up. I don't like seeing the churches get shot up. I don't like seeing the kids get shot, nor do I like seeing the kids getting to the point to where they think they need to do the shooting. Or even adults. You know, we just had the adult shooter go into a church and shot up some people in the church. I haven't seen a lot on what happened there. Um, More than likely it's being kind of held down because somebody did intervene and took him down. And that's what happens when they don't intervene. It hits the news really big. When they do intervene, they don't want nothing to do with that, because that proves that intervention works. Um, and intervention also, not only an armed intervention works, intervention in people's lives to help make their life a little better works as well. So yeah, guys, I was just bringing this to you. This is Spencer with Defense Training. Stay safe, stay armed. Please like, subscribe, and comment on this video below. Thanks.